This video is going to be some of the problems from the ISTEP practice paper that you may have received in class. If you didn't receive it, you can pause the video as we go and check answers after you work them out. But I'm going to talk through some of them because the explanations may be helpful. So the first question is just kind of a general problem solving. There's a person who has 2 summer jobs and they took a job at the Discount Mart store. So they have 2 different pay rates. So usually the total would be take the one rate times the hours. So it's kind of an algebra question without the variables set up. And so when we're looking here, how many dollars does Bailey earn at his dishwasher job? That's the first question. So we'll be using this number. How many did he earn at the clerk job? They'll be using this number and then combining and then answering a further question about those. So the first part, pretty straightforward. Pay times the hours equals the total. Notice I'm labeling everything. There's on the ISTEP, there'll be a place for you to show your work. Show this, don't just write the answer. Show how you got that, label some things, be careful. And then the last part of the question is you combine the earnings from both jobs, giving 40% from charity. A lot of these percent problems, just remember percent means multiply, or of means multiply, and percent is parts out of 100. So if you find that total pay that added those two together, take that times 0.4, and that gives you how much he contributed to charity. Again, I'm showing the work there so you can see the processes. You need to make sure that you explain those. Okay, scatter plot, data analysis, general rule, again, if forms somewhat of a line, decreasing, that would be a negative correlation. If it has a line increasing, that would be a positive correlation. This one gives a line of best fit, so we know that this has been analyzed that way. So it says, what is the equation of the line of best fit written in slope-intercept form? It says use the points P and R for finding the equation. Okay, so if they didn't give you a point to use, you would just need to pick a couple points there. So remember that we're finding slope, and I'm going to see if I can write on here. So we're basically finding the slope between these 2 points. Okay, so every single line, to find the equation of any line, you need to find the slope. There's many ways they can give you the slope. In this case, we're going to take the 2 points, and then you need to plug that slope into y equals mx plus b and find the y-intercept. Right away, I know a couple things. My y-intercept, if this is my line, my y-intercept is going to be somewhere between 15 and 16, and my slope should be negative. If that doesn't work out, then something's not right there. Okay. Let me click ahead. If I made this right. So on this, I'm going to subtract my y value, subtract my x value. Slope is change in y over change in x. And then generally, what's going to happen is they're going to ask about some kind of application of it later on. So let's see what we got here. So right now I can take my 2 y's and my 2 x's and subtract them. Now I chose to do 14.5 minus 14, 2 minus 3. Either way, it doesn't matter. But you get it down to a decimal or fraction. Okay, and that's always step 1. And then find that slope, plug it in for m. So I'm going to rewrite my slope equation, and I'm plugging in my new slope. Step 2 is plug in 1 point into your new equation. You can plug in either point. I picked the one without the fractions, I think. And you plug that in for x and y. And that allows you to find b. And so then you take your results from 1 and 2 and rewrite your equation. So there's this method I don't recommend. I'd either recommend going all fractions or are all decimals when you do that. Okay, so I have my line of best fit. Makes sense. Negative slope, 15.5. What does the slope of the line of best fit mean in regards to the revenue of the movie? So when they ask you a question like that, there's other ones that ask this. Slope is change in Y over change in X. Okay, and in this case, Y is revenue or money, and X is weeks. So when it asks you, to write with the mouse there, sorry. When it asks you the slope as far as revenue, what does that mean? If you divide this out, it means that if you end up with this negative 1/2 or negative 3/2, that means every 3 weeks or every 2 weeks, there is a loss of $3 million. Go back to this. I think I copied that number wrong. Yep, that should be negative 1/2 there. Sorry. Fix that. This is all negative 1/2. Okay, but basically what that means is that you lose $1 million every 2 weeks in this case. So depending on what the question is asking you to interpret, you're basically taking and saying, what does rise over run mean? So if I move from here to here, my slope is negative 1/2. That means I went down $500,000 over 1 week, down $500,000 over 1 week, roughly that amount using those 2 points. We'll pick up this in another video.